Kevin, first question about the movie because it's out today. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to be honest, but help me understand because all that I've heard about it is such praise. Meaning, you got like an 11-minute ovation. We talked about that. We saw that. The actors and actresses in it, they are huge names, and people talk about how this is this big epic movie. But I don't understand what's happening in the movie. Can you explain that to me?
The fact that you don't understand what's happening in the movie.
Well, that too. But it's like, what's I don't know all the praise is the news, and I'm really not
Right,
getting the plot yet, which is a great problem to have because everybody loves it so
right.
much. But tell me when I go watch it, like what's the plot of the movie?
Yeah, well, it's not a plot movie, it's a journey. It's not like robbing a bank, Bobby, where you got to get the team back together and you don't want the crazy guy anymore because you think he's going to be a loose cannon. You draw the maps and you have things going bad and the girl you used to love. There's a plot to taking down a bank. The westward movement was just this promise of going west. And certainly we have a story that is taking shape, the group of people heading to a place called Horizon, and how they get there is like the mystery of any of our lives. The promise of America was if you could get across that Atlantic, if you could get out of Europe where you're a third class citizen, and the land was so big, it was like the Garden of Eden here. So if you're looking for a plot, there's not a plot, but there's certainly a story that has its end and it builds and it's a mystery. And what you actually find out in the fourth one is that the premise that the whole town was built on is a lie. So it's like a novel as you're going. And I think if you think back to books you've read, maybe you haven't had this experience. I had it. I'd look over at somebody, they're reading a book and ask them, how's that book? And they go, the first 100 pages, it took me a moment and then suddenly snap, I was into the book. That's what Horizon is, that you see these people all moving towards something. And as they're moving towards something, the reality is that hopefully what they're doing is equally interesting to you.
That sounds like a plot though, and in the best way to me because I don't know anything about movies. Like it sounds like okay, I'm invested because I'm watching people and I'm wondering how they're going to end up. And so with these, it also feels like a docu series, but with great actors because what you're portraying here is basically the truth, correct?
Well, it's not a true story, but everything that I put in this movie happened a million times. It just happened in different ways to different people. We all know what bullies are. We all know what it is to be threatened. We all know what it is to be in love. We all know how hard it is to raise children. And if you try doing it in the dirt, in a place that has nothing, you realize that women work themselves to death. So one of the things that emerged in telling these stories was how dominant women became in this movie. They run right through all this different storylines that take you there. My goal is every time you run into a scene that you're transfixed with that scene. You're not looking to go anywhere else. I don't know about you, but when I'm in a theater, I want to just take the ride. And sometimes I think we know too much about movies. And I think the people that maybe what you're talking about stood up for 11 minutes didn't know what they were prepared to see. And maybe it reminded them of something, their own experiences when we were younger, going back to the theater, where the movie can roll over you.
The story was you invested a significant amount of your own money into this movie. Had you done that prior, and what about this project specifically inspired you to do that?
Well, I have done it before. It's so funny. I make these very American movies, and sometimes the first place I can get money is overseas. And in this instance, that wasn't even the case. I don't know what it is. I don't think my stuff is avant-garde. I never thought of myself as being so kind of weirdly creative that nobody can understand me, but you're supposed to understand that my shit is good. I'm not I'm not that. I think that my stuff is very mainstream. What I willing to do though that may bothers maybe some people is that I invest in behavior and I let scenes go a little deeper so that maybe we understand the value of water just a little bit more than the obvious I'm thirsty. We understand it's a life and death moment. We understand how it has to be shared among people who don't even know each other, maybe in a lot of instances don't even like each other. We understand that some people are more equipped to go across this country than others. And so what I try to do, man, is just take you to a place where you're interested wherever you're whatever you're watching at that moment. I will get you to the gunfight, and I will even get you to this plot if that's what's important, but it'll come at you sideways.
There are four parts to this, and the second part comes out a lot sooner than most second parts to movies. What was the strategy with that, and what's the difference in part one and two? Is it the same characters?
Yeah, that's a studio strategy. Let me say something to somebody who's just a little bit loud. Okay, I'm hearing you more than I hear me. Sorry, Bobby. That's more of a marketing thing. I designed them to come out every 4 or 5 months, which would have been making news itself. Um, go back to your question for a second. I will get it
Yeah, why would they?
perfect.
Most movies, we get annoyed because it takes like 2 years to have the second one come out. This one,
Well,
that's not the case.
okay, I think I remember what you're saying. Well, the I don't know. I don't do things like most people. I don't mind a single movie. I wouldn't mind making a haunted house movie with just 8 people. But in this instance, I made this big sprawling movie with these different storylines, and I couldn't kind of turn my back on what it was. The idea of the idea of the second movie is it gets harder than the first movie. It's harder on the people. What you think is hard when you watch the first one, it gets harder for them. And that's what I want to kind of sink in. And yet, during all that thing, I don't want it to be this dreary movie. There's exciting things that are happening. You're seeing relationships, you're seeing action, you're seeing things fall. And I think I just have my own style. I mean, I don't paint like you. In fact, I can't paint. I can't even draw an orange. But I guess when I make my movies, I make them for myself with the idea that they can live forever and that people are going to see exactly what it was I wanted to show them.
Sam Worthington and Luke Wilson, two of the big names in the movie. You know, a lot of huge names, but those specifically pop out. And when it's a project that you're so personally involved in every way, is that more of a personal ask to those guys to be in the movie, or is it still business as usual where agents reach out to agents?
Yeah, no, I don't, and listen, I have a lot of you're going to see how extraordinary some new actresses are on this thing. They're unbelievable. But women actually dominate. But when it comes down to that, I let the picture speak for itself. I don't ask anybody to do me a favor. It's like actors want to live forever. There's only one way that really happens, and that's if you're in a movie that has the potential to live forever, that people will revisit down the line as you go. I mean, there's some movies I'm sure in your life that you like to step back and rewatch, and you know what those are. There's some moments that you like to relive. There might even be moments in movies that formed you as a man about how you'd like to behave for all the phoniness that movies have. There are moments that are orchestrated morally where you think, shit, I have to be that guy. That I need to be that guy and not that guy.
It feels like we're in a world where it's remake after remake, and this is absolutely not a remake. This is as original as it gets. So, how long have you been waiting to make this? And was that also part of why it felt so good because you were kind of zigging when everybody else is zagging?
Yeah. Well, I had this idea back in 1988, and it's not like I stayed up every night thinking about it. I did name my son after the lead character, Hayes. He's 13 years old. But there's something about this story that challenged me, and I thought would be exciting for men and women. I also think that it's a kind of a story, even though there's an R in front of it for violence or whatever you want to call it, that I think men and women are actually going to go home after seeing this and saying, you know what, I think we should bring our son. I think we should bring our daughter. I think they should understand what their great great grandparents maybe went through and see this. So, um, that's how I mean, that's really how I look at these things as forever moments. And so I kept at it. I didn't really fall out of love with this thing. I felt that it had value. And when I realized that no one else saw it because it wasn't a sequel, because it wasn't these things that are driving instincts out there, I can't be bothered with that. I mean, I live in the real world, right? So I understand that's why it was hard for me to make it. So that's not what's being done. So I just look to myself I had acquired some things, and I just didn't want those things to be so in control of me. And if they gave me the ability to financially make this thing while I didn't want to do that, I did do it because I just don't want to kind of spit on my life and avoid the things because, oh, I just couldn't do it. Well, it turned out I could do it. And if I had to risk some things, I did it.
How hard is it to direct yourself because you're acting when you're acting? You can't really watch yourself on a screen. And do you know if you don't do it right, or do you trust someone else to tell you while you're doing the acting part?
No, I can see it right away. Well, one thing I do is I got a bad habit. I don't give myself as much time as I give my other actors. I have a tendency to just, do it once or, maybe twice. And once in a while, somebody will whisper to Kevin, give yourself a chance because I'm already moving on. I want my other actors to succeed so wildly that I, um, I just do. So sometimes I have to be reminded, but I can tell right away, Bobby, what I want to do a little differently.
An American Saga. It's in theaters today. Mike D watched it, Movie Mike, and gave us just a wonderful review of it. And it's 4 chapters, with the second chapter coming out in August. And are all 4 going to be released in the same pattern, like just a couple of months from each other?
No, I don't. They can't be because I'm in the middle of making 3 right now. There was a reason why they wanted to do this, so I'm trying. But no, they're going to come quick. I saw 2 days ago, and I'm happy to. And I wasn't sure I was going to be able to say this, but it's as good as one, if not better. And I didn't really know that, and I got a pretty high bar for myself. And I'd have to just tell you that a week ago I was going, geez, I don't. And then boom, I saw it. And I thought, okay, we got over the hump. But what happens is they each get harder, and three really explodes. I begin to play in 3 a lot more than I am in 1 and 2. It's an ensemble, but as things start to move towards horizon, things become more distilled and more succinct, and it zeroes in on life in this town. It just takes advantage of all the different people and storylines, and that makes it easier to jump around.
An American Saga in theaters starting today, tonight. Hey, Kevin, a question that's not an American Saga related. What do you feel like people know you for most as an actor if they see you out? Like, what do they yell at you? Which character?
That's a really good question. They do yell at me and they call me different names: Tin Cup, Crash, Billy Chapel. They just do. They'll call me Hayes now. Um, But the one thing I'm maybe happiest about when people actually come up to me versus yelling at me to tell me what meant the most to them, I get some very cool things once in a while. Some things are exhausting, as you know, but once in a while I get somebody saying, you know what, my dad passed away in the last 2 weeks of his life. All we did was watch your movies. And that stops me and it reminds me why I need to stop when somebody comes up to me. But the idea of what they call out to me most, I can't peg that down. But what makes me the happiest is that when they tell me what maybe their favorite movie is, it doesn't boil down to a single movie for me. And I think that makes me happier that it's not a single movie. One of 12 or 15 movies will come out of their mouth. I just don't know if it's going to be Waterworld or Fandango or Surprise Me but it's Dances or Field or Bodyguard or JFK. It starts to roll around. That makes me the happiest that movies can touch you, and every choice I make has a chance to be a forever moment.
Do you have a favorite movie of all time? I mean, I'm talking to one of the greatest actors. Like, do you have a favorite movie of all time that you automatically go to when someone asks that question?
Well, there's 4 or 5 that I like, but I like, it's going to be a pretty eclectic thing. I love The Wizard of Oz, right? I love Sand Pebbles. I love Cool Hand Luke. Um, I really love Liberty Valance. I love The Godfather. So, pretty weird, right? Wizard of Oz, Godfather. But there are movies that when you see them, you always see something new. And that's what, because they're detailed. Sand Pebbles, I don't know if you've ever seen it, man. Have you?
Don't even know what it is.
Buddy, take some time and watch Steve McQueen in the Sand Pebbles.
Okay, making a note. Sand pebbles, one word. I probably just Google it, right? It'll pop up. It's pretty famous. I don't know sand pebbles. I know all the other ones though.
Yeah, no. So I'm giving you something, and that movie touched me. That movie just was gut wrenching, and I think that's the chance I have when I make a movie is something that can be shared. I mean, I don't know any of us that don't. I mean, you must come in there after hearing a song you never heard and go, I just heard the best song. Your people you do this thing with come in and say, I just read the best book, really. And I want my movie to be one of those things. I saw a movie last night that I wasn't sure where it was going, and it took me somewhere. And the promise of the second one is it's going to take me deeper. And it's going to hurt me even more.
So in Horizon American Saga, you mentioned there are a lot of new actors that maybe we don't know yet that
Yeah.
are just about to be stars, and they are working with some of these big stars. And I'm assuming you have the awareness to know they're probably a little bit intimidated by working with you because you're one of the greats. Did you ever have that as a young actor where you're working with one of the greats and you were a little like, holy crap, and they were cool to you?
Yeah, I was, I've worked with Gene Hackman, I've worked with De Niro, I worked with Sean Connery. I was a pretty young. I wish I knew a little bit more when that was going down. But yeah, you feel that, but you quickly have to get over it. And it's my job to break that ice really quickly because I'm there to help them, and they realize that. They also have a script where they can succeed. Wiley, one of the things I think people are going to notice is that these are great acting parts. This isn't just part of being in a Western. This is our Shakespeare. And I've given these people speeches and the drama to blow people away with their performances. You watch Sienna Miller, you watch Abby Lee, Ella Hunt. These guys are burning it down in their own way. I mean, Sienna Miller is just luminous, and Abby Lee is going to blow your mind, and so is Ella Hunt. These are actresses that are going to be around. They're just strong, they're brave, and they have the material to really flex.
Three final questions. Number one is with Horizon and American Saga, and it's in theaters. Have you or will you pop into any theaters just to get a gauge?
I won't. I've done that in the past, and it's been fun. I've gone into, when you realize that Field of Dreams took over the country. Dances with Wolves was the first movie I ever directed. I wasn't even here in the country. I was making Robin Hood. I didn't get to see it unfold. In this instance, I probably won't do that, but my friends are always begging me to go in. I made it for people. There's not a thing in this movie that wasn't designed to somehow catch your attention and work. It's just how I do it.
Your name is Kevin. Would you say your name? We have a debate on how to say your name. This is question two of three. Would you say your name as someone said, "Sir, what is your name?" Kevin, please.
Kevin,
When your
what are you
last name.
talking?
Say your last name, please.
Costner.
Okay. That's how I say your name. We have a guy on the show that for years has swore that you pronounce your name Kevin Costner with a Z, which I don't
No,
think
no,
is. Okay, go ahead, Mr.
no,
Costner. Go ahead.
Costner.
no. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Listen, my grandmother never said my name right. She's a little Oklahoma girl, married at 14. She called me Kevin forever. I thought that's what my name was because grandma said it. But no, it's Costner. It's a German name.
Yeah, not Cosner or anything.
So it's a hard T, Kevin.
Costner, yes.
Hey, there you are, Mike.
So, no, it's
Okay,
yeah.
last question, and this is my one final
How come
question.
I didn't show you before, Mike? What's the deal?
And just the standard I got to ask because my listeners want to know about it. So you did say you're not doing Yellowstone anymore. I know. You don't want to have to answer anything about Yellowstone, but how long
And,
had?
look, you were kind enough to give me a platform. Look, I'm an independent filmmaker, right? And you're going to see a lot of sequels unless independent guys are making movies that they just feel like are original. So, you've given me a really nice platform, Bobby, to talk about Horizon. So you want a question about something like that? I'm going to try to answer it.
How long did you know it was over before you announced it was over?
Um, Probably, I was hoping that we could continue. I was. I really love that show. I mean, I was going to do one season. I did five, and in the end, I needed to work more than twice a year, more than once a year. I wanted to, and I made sure that how I was going to do that would work that Yellowstone would have a first position. I would handle Yellowstone's business, and then I would go do my own. But eventually, that even became something that just for whatever reason couldn't happen. And when I realized that, I knew that then I would just go forward. And so it was just about 3 days before I just decided to make that announcement. It's like I didn't want people guessing about my life. I will say this, in life, anything is possible, but I wanted to just make it final. I'm not going to do Yellowstone. If something changes dramatically for whatever reason, my mind, my heart's open to anything, but I'm done with that show at this point. And I'm not thinking about it. I'm not willing it to come back. It has marked me. It's something that I love that audiences rallied around. I thought it would work, and that's what I love about when people decide they'll see Hatfield and McCoy's, I've judged that it has an entertainment value, and people have followed me my career. I really want to honor that. Horizon is the same thing. I think while people are trying to make sense of a guy who's made 4 without even knowing if the first one works, I don't care. I've already made up my mind.
Kevin Costner, Horizon, An American Saga. Chapter 1 is out now. Chapter 2 comes out in August. He's also frozen on my screen, so I don't know if he's there anymore. But massive fan. Is he there?
Still frozen.
Answer?
Oh, there he is. He's back. He's unfrozen now.
Did you guys get that whole answer, or did it go away?
No, we got it all. We got it all. And we definitely,
go.
and I definitely felt like for the first time, like you don't have a dislike for Yellowstone. You just have more of a love for what you wanted to do as well as that.
Of Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I have a healthy love of what it's done for me, what it did for a lot of people, what it did for the audiences that are willing to follow me. No one knew about Yellowstone. I decided I would do it. I went out over to Europe and sold it. I was the only guy over there saying, yeah, I think this will be good. I love that show. And so, not like love. But there's a moment in time where I think you nailed it. You have to be able to go forward. In my life, I don't want to close doors, but I also want to be able to shut them in a way that's meaningful.
Hey, that's pretty deep.
Oh, yeah, I like
That's
that.
pretty deep right there. Horizon, An American Saga, Chapter 1. It's out now. Chapter 2 in August. Kevin Costner, Mr. Costner, thank you for your time. We're massive fans, and we hope just massive things for this project.
Bobby, you got a lot of stuff on your desk. I mean, you got some Arkansas stuff going there.
I have a lot of memorabilia. Do you have cool memorabilia from your movies that you keep that's super valuable to you?
I've kept it all. I bought the Shelby Cobra for Bull Durham, that 1968 thing. I bought the Model A where I hunt down Bonnie and Clyde. I even got a truck from Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
I love that shit.
What about like balls, like golf stuff or baseballs?
I have all that stuff. I have, and sometimes I've given it to charity, but I have kept it because I know it's of some value, not to sell, but to kind of show at some point. And I look forward to doing that with people.
That's super cool. Mr. Costner, thank you for your time and hope you have a great weekend and good luck to the movie.
Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
All right.
It's a Bobby Bones show.